Okay, after thinking about it for a bit there, I just realized I have a couple of different Corvettes ships here that really could use a massive update. Because they have a lot of potential, I just realized. Because fairly early on, I decided to work on the lockdown Frigate Corvettes, which was meant to kind of hinder ships for all of my other mobile heavy hitters. So we had the lockdown, which was I at least designed to kind of slow down ships ideally. And then we had the Firefly, which was supposed to be a massive barrage heavy hitter. And I just realized, looking through them quickly, the Firefly does not even have its shield generators up, so this would be a perfect candidate to utilize antimatter cans on. I don't know if it's the best option, but I am really excited about trying it out, if it can somehow manage the power demands that are required of it. So that is going to be tricky, I think, because right now half the energy, at least with these small antimatter reactors I'm currently using, take up half the energy, and after throwing in fusion engines, it's got a lot of speed, so that's not going to be an issue. It's going to obviously rely on dodging attacks there, but antimatter cans, which is the whole point of this, unless I could find something that complements it a little bit better. Hard to say, because I'm not seeing it otherwise, that can do more damage and fit in that small package. Antimatter cans are probably where it's at, but I'm gonna need some extended arc to kind of be able to focus the firepower a little bit more, because otherwise they're just going to be hitting two separate targets rather than focusing on one single larger target. Because I see both these being able to fire on the same cruiser, so long as it flies straight at it, of course. And it can actually handle the power. It just has no capacitor to actively handle it. So let's correct that, shall we? So if I throw one on there, it actually has infinite power. Wow. So do I really want to throw 3 on there then? I honestly don't know. What else can I throw on this thing? Because this has a lot of potential. It's going to hit like a truck for something its size. It is going to be a bit expensive, but I need to compare with my consorts first. And, oh yeah, I am going to need ammo. So I forgot about that. So, is that enough? Is that seriously enough? 99 seconds for all its fire potential. It honestly does not seem like it. But do I want to forsake its speed even further? I'm gonna have to stick with that, quite frankly. It's gonna be more like a... It's basically my heavy fighter, if nothing else. It's gonna be doing its bombing runs until it runs out of ammo, and then just flee the battlefield, essentially. It's not gonna be a long-term fighter. But yeah, there's my Firefly. Finally updating, actually could be usable once my consorts, once I have 2 mate consorts, because they are my escort fighter there, and they fit that role pretty well with these heavy laser upgrades to them. I don't know how much the blue laser upgrades affect them though, so that's something I'm going to have to look at in my campaign and in the sandbox editor. Scenario editors is actually called. So I think my voice is breaking up a little bit too. That's not a good sign. I'm only just starting with these videos, damn it. Yeah. So we will see. Actually, let me compare 82 resources versus the Firefly at 111. So it is definitely more expensive and not nearly as mobile, so I need to keep that in mind. It is truly a bomber in this sense. That just leaves the Frigate. Which begs the question, what the hell can I use this for? Because the first thing that I am lacking is a long-range actual bombardment fighter. And with mass drivers, it could do that, but is that really what I want? 2,000 damage at 600. Well, 2,000 damage at, if I were to guess, is that around 500 or 400 range before the damage drop off? So let me compare a little bit here, because cluster cannons I like the potential of. So that fires 2 rounds, so that's like 1,200 damage there, 400 range. For smaller, almost half the size. Let me just compare. Let me find a damn mass driver. Compare the cost and mass. Let's see, mass driver is at 1020, 12.6. So the size for production cost, mass wise, is pretty equal. While the mass driver requires energy, this is half the damage. So cluster cannons are almost ideally more damage potential for maybe slightly less range before the damage drop off. One thing gotta keep in mind, actually it's also less energy too. But again, that's equal to the size there. It's about 1 energy per block, so that's actually not a big deal. And I have a little more flexibility because I can overload the cluster cannons and also extend their arc. Actually, let me look at the possibility of an overload cluster cannon. How small does that make the arc? Well, the arc actually doesn't get affected at all, so that's an idea altogether. It boosts everything up, but... So how much of a boost is that? Is it... Doesn't want to say, so... I'm assuming that's 25%. Yeah, that looks like 25% there. For a cost of like a third. In the production anyway. And it even does affect the arc, even though it doesn't want to show that. Which is weird. It says 45-degree arc on the cluster cannon, but... And this one's supposed to be even smaller. Supposed to be smaller, but it's not showing me it. So maybe I don't want to do that. But I do like the idea of the cluster cannons. Is there anything else I can utilize it for? Because again, cluster cannons are probably ideal for hitting clusters of ships. And I do like how they look. And they're a lot more reliable to hit as well. This is a tough choice. I know I don't need anything close range for a frigate because I already got my soldiers, which are pretty good at doing that already. Where it's a constant barrage of damage as they keep flying into the fleet. Because they're constantly shooting at targets, they're just not very good at shooting at single targets. Or focusing down a single target their size for maybe a brief broadside. So they're really good at softening them up. They just can't. They have a really hard time hitting the same target constantly, especially with the rate of fire on the lasers. So that's the only downside I see with them. So, look at the fighter bay. I almost wonder if I want to make it like a pseudo hybrid in a way. Because I can focus on long range chipping down targets, especially smaller ones. But then again, the fighter bay does almost the same thing. Because this will shoot down corvettes, some fighters that are in its field of view, and do respectable damage to anything bigger, assuming the cluster cannons can hit reliably. So I like that idea. The question is now, how many cluster cannons do I want to put on without shooting myself in the foot there? Because with the narrow arc, it's not going to be able to hit much else. Hell, I can even fit EMP. I can even fit torpedoes in general in there. So that sounds cool. It has 500-meter range, but slow as hell if anything that I've learned from watching the Master Fleet. Which can only take out a single quadrant. EMP Temporio can take out an entire ship. Okay. I don't think that's reliable for what I'm aiming for here. Again, further back, it has a range, but it can be shot down, damn it. But actually, if the seam is AoE, with like the cluster cans, actually I can use a photon torpedo on here, right? The downside is the drop off though. So I don't know how I feel about that. Proximity mine sounds promising, but I never worked with those either, so that will be field test. That will require field testing. I got a lot of choices here, I just don't know what to use. I sure as hell can't use the Gauss cannon now, can I? I'm like 6 squares short of using it in the front. And I would almost argue mass drivers would probably be better anyway, if you, judging by the amount of space used. But I can use torpedoes, so that might be a future thing to consider. And if I really want to, I could throw on a side like that. But seriously, that almost looks like it should be like a shoot those missiles out the side there almost, you would think. Except from the front. But I really do like this idea here. It just lacks the power right now, so I need to fix that. And since this is more hanging back, it could probably afford smaller shields to get away with that. Actually, let me try a large and then just fill out small antimatter reactors instead. See if that fits the power demands. No, it does not. Go figure. It helps with its durability at least. So it is, that large shield's almost required, I would imagine. Then I throw in ammo. Jeez. I'm gonna have to rethink this a bit. How much ammo does it choose through? Choose through 5 a shot. Or does the mass driver choose through... Let's see, what does the mass driver choose through? It's only 2. Okay. It's not even the torpedoes that are doing it, it's just the damn cluster cannons that are chewing through the ammo. So, mass drivers aren't going to solve that problem anyway. So I am going to have to try smaller shield generator in that case, so it's going to lose a lot of its durability. So that is a bit scary. I could almost throw a second shield generator in the front, but that's also risky. Because it's not really much different than using the large, quite frankly. And I have a lot of power to utilize. Oh, that's why. I have a lot of power to utilize because I have an overabundance of power that I didn't pay attention to. Because this is going to be firing a lot, so it's going to demand a lot of ammo. Hell, I have an ordnance fabricator now, actually. So 5 ordnance a second. So it's not going to be able to handle demand very much. Because like 40s, that's easily chewing through 10 ammo a second. So that actually can fit the demand that's required. And I can actually utilize the tech as needed. It is obviously going to cost more. But it gives it a lot more longevity. Without having to run out of ammo and then just run off. Now the question is power. Because everything's going to be running. So one more reactor is probably necessary. Don't like the idea there. There's a lot of powers required. Torpedoes require 500. So yeah, I don't even have the storage to fire everything. So this is almost a little excessive. I'm worried that the photon torpedoes aren't even going to fire. This is something I'm definitely going to need to test out on the sandbox, because, yeah, it does not even say I have the ammo. And how much would a large one cover? 250. So, yeah. It's looking like I'm going to have to cut back a little bit. So much for the 4 cluster cannons, if I want those torpedoes to work. But again, they have a bit of a damage drop off, so maybe I don't care about those too much. What about discharge? Oh, range is too far, and of course it's too big. So never mind that. Is there anything else long range I can throw in? I might have to use the mass drivers. Or again, I can use the cluster cannons, because I have the ordnance fabricator now. So that will help a lot. The energy demands will go down significantly. It is going to be pretty singular, but considering the fact I don't have any point defense weaponries, it might be okay to go with cluster cannons instead to kind of make up for the lack of point defense. So it cuts back on power a lot. And now I gotta find out ideal weaponry. Probably want well, I think I want my ammo based weaponry to actually be energy, to be honest. I want to avoid using more ammo if I can help it, because I kind of want the energy to be able to function at all times. Where cluster cannons are going to be gonna run out of ammo at some point. Although again, the fabricator's not going to do too terribly much. But I do have the power though, so it's not too terribly bad. I just lack the power stores I need. It's not going to be able to boost the shields, but the ammo fabricator is going to help a ton. This I am even more weary about. So now we just gotta figure out what to name it. Well, sadly I couldn't really find anything appropriate for an insectoid that would spray out like a massive barrage of pellets and that. I was thinking something that could like spray venom there, but I couldn't find any insects anyway that can do that. I could only find like snakes and maybe a spider or two that could possibly do that, but no ants or insects that could fit it, so I'm just gonna have to stick with just this venom sprayer. Not exactly an original name, but it fits what I think of this ship anyway, because it's gonna shoot like a massive amount of pellets everywhere. It's gonna shoot out like at least 12 cluster rounds, and they're gonna like explode into like thousands of smaller flak pellets, which kind of fits what I was thinking of anyways, like a venom spray, because it's just gonna spray and pray essentially as far as hitting long range. It'd do massive amount of damage to anything that's clumped together in clusters, like maybe corvettes and frigates. But in the end, we managed to get ourselves a bunch of different ships here. I am gonna have to look into finding a working theme with the lockdown type corvettes, or even scrap that ship altogether for something that's bigger, like if it's a frigate, considering EMP torpedoes are available. But that we're gonna save for another time, I think. But otherwise, now it is time to give these things a test.